Grieving is not easy, and the pain of loss can feel extremely overwhelming and can have a huge impact on your physical and mental health. I'm Sabrina, and if you or someone you know is currently experiencing grief, this quick set can help you understand the stages and types of grief, but most importantly, healthy methods to cope. Grief is your own journey. There is no set time to grieve and no specific ways on how to grieve. It is just very important to be patient with yourself. Healing happens gradually. The reason why it can be helpful to understand grief is so that you can understand the emotional and physical symptoms that can stem from it. Some emotional symptoms you might be feeling are shock, disbelief, sadness, guilt, fear, and anger, and the physical symptoms could be fatigue, nausea, insomnia, pain, and weight loss or gain. When it comes to grieving, there are some harmful myths that we might have been told or believed that can have a negative effect on your grieving process. One myth is that the pain will go away faster if you just ignore it. Trying to ignore the pain will only make it worse in the long run. To heal, it is necessary to face your grief. Another myth is that grieving should only take a year. There is no time frame for grieving, and if it takes you longer or shorter, that is completely normal. And finally, there is also a negative stigma that if you move on with your life, that means you're forgetting about the loss. Moving on means you have accepted the loss, but does not mean you have forgotten. You can move on with your life and still keep the memory of someone you love. Like I mentioned earlier, grief is very personal and everyone's experiences will differ. However, there are some commonalities in the stages and order of feelings. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross created the 5 stages of grief, which may be useful to know. There are also other models and even one model which has 7 stages. As stated by Kubler-Ross, the 5 stages of grieving are denial, pretending the loss or change isn't happening, anger is hiding the many emotions and pain that you carry. This anger may be redirected at other people, such as the person who died. Bargaining, in this stage of grieving, you may find yourself creating a lot of what if or if only statements. Depression, you may feel foggy, heavy, and confused. It's also good to have a therapist to help you during this moment. And lastly, acceptance. It is not necessarily a happy or uplifting stage of grief. It doesn't mean you've moved on past the grief or loss. It does, however, mean that you've accepted it and come to understand what it means in your life now. What's important to remember is that to deal with grief, you must acknowledge your pain and accept that grief can trigger many different unexpected emotions. Understand that your grieving process is unique to you and that seeking face-to-face support from people around you is essential. I'm now going to show you a short video of people's personal experiences of grief and what helped them throughout the process.
What I wish I learned about grief earlier on is that there is always going to be an emptiness, and you can't replace this person. And there's no matter how long, for me, time goes on, the feeling changes, but the emptiness is still there. And I mean that to say that when someone first passes, it feels like you've been winded. You feel you can't control this feeling. However, as time's gone on and years and let's say even decades have passed, I find myself wanting to talk to them, and then that moment of, oh, I can't. There's an emptiness again, and it kind of just is a reminder. But that's one thing I would probably say that was always hard to explain. However, what has helped me to really kind of cope with grief over the years is that knowing that a lot of people are also going through this, and you have a support network that you can rely on, talk about it. I think people think it's like this unspoken rule that you can't talk about it. They're definitely there to use. And outside of that, thinking of the positive memories. I'll find myself laughing about random things and, keeping them in the light, some people say. Just that gets me through, is flipping all of those sad memories into positive memories, gets me through my days, especially when they're feeling pretty low.
Some things that have helped me through the grieving process and still help me to this day are things like just simply talking about it with my friends or my loved ones, people who are maybe going through a similar thing. Another thing that helps me a lot is remembering that I'm not alone. None of us are alone. Everyone goes through grieving at some point in their life, and it takes some people longer to grieve than others. But remembering that I'm not alone and being able to talk to people freely and not worry about being judged or not judging myself is something that has helped me. So yeah, try not to judge yourself and remember you're not alone.
I also had the chance to speak to AJ Tracey and asked him the same questions. This is what he had to say.
What do I wish I knew about the grieving process? I feel like it's very cliche, but time heals everything, you get me? It's good to know that even if you feel bad today, you're not always gonna feel bad, and that the day is gonna come when you feel better about the situation. I feel like it's easier to say that than to actualize it, you know what I'm saying? Because when you're hurt, it's not like you can't really think logically, but it's good to know that after a certain period of time, no matter what it is, you're gonna be okay. What has helped me, the fact that I have purpose, you know what I'm saying? My purpose is to make other people's lives easier, leave a mark on this planet, and hopefully spread some happiness, you get me? As long as I'm able to do that, then I know I have a purpose and I'm gonna keep doing it.
There are many support organisations out there that can support you. Some helpful ones are Grief Encounter, the Loss Foundation, and the NHS support from your GP, who can offer you services such as CBT.
My name is Claire Collins and I'm a bereavement coordinator here at Marie Curie. So if you're experiencing grief, I think the most important thing to understand is that there is no right or wrong way to grieve. There's no handbook that comes with grief. Everybody's individual loss is as individual as they are, as individual as their family is. But I think the one important thing to remember is that talking can help, and there is usually someone around that you can talk to if you're from if you have a faith background or a teacher at school or a particular friend. It won't be everyone that you can share with. You can choose the people that you share with, but it's important to find somebody that you can trust. And for some people, it's more useful to reach out into the virtual world. Like, you can go onto Marie Curie website and find links to other organisations, our own organisation, and you can maybe contact somebody virtually if that helps you. But there are people there like myself who are wanting to help you, wanting to talk. If one of your friends is grieving, it might help to ask how they are, and we kind of know that the answer that lots of people give is, I'm fine, I'm okay. So it might be nice to offer some practical things that you can do. Do you want to go for a coffee? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to show me any photos, or do you want to, tell me a bit about the person that you've lost? Tell me a bit about how you're feeling. And just as what I said about getting support for yourself, you might need to ask a couple of times how they're doing. And we can't force people to talk to us, but we can gently offer to have the conversations. So when someone dies, they can leave a massive hole in our lives, and we still might kind of hear their voice in our heads. We might want longing to talk to them. So sometimes it's okay to go out on a walk and have a big conversation with that person. Just say all the things you want to say. It might be that you write a song to them, or you write a letter to them, or you keep a journal of the things that you would like to say to them. lots of people find comfort in that connection. And when you do lose somebody big in your life, the loss at the beginning is just so enormous, but then the more routines you build into your life, the more you start seeing people or start going out, you're allowed to enjoy yourself even after a big loss. So the more you start doing, life becomes bigger, and the grief stays the same size, but life kind of becomes bigger around the grief, and it does for most people get easier. But that loneliness at the beginning, there's a reason for it, because you've lost somebody from your life. So it's only right that you give yourself a bit of time and space to feel that loneliness, to feel that loss, but also gently bring things in to make life that bit bigger.
According to Time magazine, if you would like to support a friend or family member who is experiencing grief, here are some do's and don'ts to consider. Do's. 1. Reach out. You might feel the urge to hold back out of fear that you remind them of the bad news again, so just say something. The feeling that someone cares about you and your pain can be so comforting. 2. Judge their reaction. If you've said something kind and they don't want to hear more than that, they'll make it clear. Be sensitive. 3. Give support little and often. Sending a message like thinking of you or expressing love goes a long way. 4. Just do it. Make the casserole, tell them when you're coming round to cut the lawn, offer to pick up their children from school. Don't just say if you need anything, actually do it. Don'ts. 1. Don't tag grieving relatives in photos of the deceased online. 2. Don't push your faith onto them if they don't share it. 3. Don't be sensationalist about it. And 4. Don't use cliches such as they're in a better place, it was meant to be. Just be by their side to listen. I also have a short set on loneliness that can offer you some guidance. Additionally, we have a short set on creating inner peace with mindfulness, which you may find really useful. I'll leave you with this quote: "Be the things you loved most about the people who are gone."